Welcome to the NOCLIP Awards. I'm Chad Ruthermond.
I'm Andy Kinnick.
And I'm JJ Artemis.
It's the podcast that's like a book club if your book club told you what games were the best in unusual categories. And today, we're going to be doing the same thing that we did last year, actually, if you were here for that. And we have our categories, our best ofs, various different topics. And JJ has returned, as requested by literally everyone.
Thank you.
To read off the category names and act as moderator, because do you know how many games that we played this year that you've played before?
No.
Probably like
One.
Ocarina, yeah.
Ocarina, Outer Wilds.
Outer
Outer
Wilds.
Wilds, okay.
Also quality item.
So we got like two possible things.
Oh no, I'm not here to like provide information or importance. I'm merely here to like ensure that the two of you draw blood against one another in your intense verbal jousting matches.
And also occasionally make me insert a bell sound effect into.
He's here to be the dishonorable judge.
Yes.
Got this nice sword just for the purpose. Just like every year. We need a name for this sword.
It's true. I think it does. I think it may be supposed to be Excalibur.
Yeah, the holy letter opener of Antioch.
You can say that about like any sword that is moderately fancy though.
That's true. I bought it in London. And I think it was at like a gift shop. And I feel like there aren't that many famous British swords. There are probably a lot of them, but I feel like
they might even be real.
Yeah, but I feel like Excalibur is the one that they would sell at a gift shop.
The Queen like has a sword, right?
They do use a sword to knight people.
That's
with.
true.
I don't
Yeah.
know if it's a specific sword.
It better be a specific sword.
Yeah.
Like, clearly.
Don't knight me with that trash sword.
Yeah, right?
Uh-huh.
Whatever. Speaking of knighting things with a trash sword.
Let's begin.
Just giving you something to edit out so I giggle my way.
I'm glad to see that this joke is slaying already.
As is traditional for all NOCLIP, I have no idea what these categories are, but am nonetheless maximally qualified to judge both of you to ensure that they adhere to said categories. First, down the line, what is perfect for the Steam Deck?
We start strong with one that absolutely requires you to have listened to the previous episodes.
And I've never listened to anything else. I didn't know you guys had strong feelings about the Steam Deck.
We do not, but we have used a category in all previous episodes called Perfect for the Switch, and this is the counterpart to that now that Valve has entered the handheld console space.
You mean one already?
Has dominated.
Now that you can play PC games on the go, it's
And this is debatably a harder category to pick for.
Because everything's already on Steam.
Yeah. And that was always the problem, is that everything would be like ported to the Switch. But now we're in a point where the Switch is now fully populated with every game that's been released in the last like 8 years.
rough, very rough. Well, I can provide you no help here, but I will announce the candidates you two have chosen to bout against one another in this arena, which is Time Splitters Future Perfect, and what I think is a $, and then the number 3, and then an apostrophe, and then the capital D World. So Money's 3 World. Money's 3 World.
So the reason I think that Money's 3 World is perfect for the Steam Deck, it's a game I have made. My choice was Mario 3D World.
You didn't write the word Mario. That would have
helped.
Super.
Well, just 3D World would be enough if you're me. Which I didn't think about. We may encounter this problem in the future.
Why did you...
Only professionalism here.
Why would you make them smaller? Are you trying to like sneak your way so that you can argue for different games that happen to be also be 3D? In
Yeah,
case the tide turns against you?
As you go through, some of mine are just symbols that I'm hoping that you'll interpret in a way, and that I can argue a different game.
All right. Why is Super Mario 3D World, a game that will definitely not be on the Steam Deck, perfect for the Steam Deck?
Yeah, despite the fact that it is never going to be on the Steam Deck, it would be flawless for the Steam Deck, because 3D World and its ilk, so like 3D Land and some of the other like Mario games no one talks about, like new Super Mario Brothers, are excellent portable games, and I've experienced this firsthand on the Switch, because previously this game had only been released on the Wii U. Because everything in it takes like 1 second to do. Like a whole level of that game is like non-exaggeratingly about like a 2-minute experience. So if you just had a Steam Deck in your jacket pocket, and you could actually do the thing that they do in Switch commercials and be like on the bus and just pop that shit out and play a quick level, put it back in before your stop gets there.
I see. Good time for a clarifying question then. Do we know what the size of the Steam Deck is? Does it have a size, or is it really just the perfect thing that we always imagine and want it to be?
It's a valid question. I know that there are 3 different styles, but I believe that all it is storage space, and the actual size of the device is the same.
Okay.
I just always imagine it's about the same size as the Switch.
Fair. All right. I'll just substitute a Switch, but better is what I will use from this on. Time Splitters Future Perfect, though. Why is that better than the 3D's Worlds?
So I picked Time Splitters Future Perfect because I feel like we talked about this on the episode. It's like a very fun like party game, like a party shooter. And you don't really get those so much anymore. Like they're a lot more rare, I think, than they used to be. And I think it's a game that would benefit from like the portability of the Steam Deck, because you could take it to other people's houses and you could still have like the in-person co-op thing. And like the shooting would be like assisted by having like a mouse cursor style like touchpad thing. Like, and I don't know if the Steam Deck supports gyro or not, but if it does, that would be another benefit to have for aiming as well.
Now, can the Steam Deck be separated into like sub-quadrants or controllers that can then be distributed to those present for gaming party fun?
I don't think it has detachable controllers.
Okay.
But it does have native Bluetooth support. So if you go to somebody's house, as long as they have a game controller, like a modern game controller, they will most likely be able to connect it to it.
Yeah, and you can hook it up to the TV, and someone else can have their own on the couch, et cetera, et cetera. Or
This isn't an ad, by the way, for the Steam Deck. I have not myself even purchased one.
No. And yet we judge exactly what it needs, as we should. Responsible individuals. Does it have a USB port? Could I plug my Xbox 360 controller?
This is too much. This is eldritch knowledge. No man knows the presence of a USB port.
Understandable. Well, I'm afraid, Chad, that I'm going to, via my unbounded executive powers, judge that in order for something to be perfect for a console, it must be, although not presently extant. No, scratch that. Though not presently extant, it must at least be hypothetically possible for the game to be on the console. So you were just right out. 1 point for the Koenig.
All right.
In that case, Andy won by default, because that might be the only game that fits those qualifications.
I think there was at least like 2 others, like Metal Gear Solid 2. There's another one, but anyway, continue.
Oh man, is Metal Gear Solid 2 on PC now?
That's what I'm saying. That's why it would be perfect for the Steam Deck, because it's
would be
not.
perfect.
It qualifies for the category.
That is fair. All right. Your next trial.
Bum, bum, bum.
Smashiest balls.
A classic category.
Indeed.
Once
Fans-
again, relying on past knowledge for our first 2 categories.
Yeah, I think Smashiest Balls is always the second one, but I might be lying.
It's always in the first couple.
Yeah.
You got to get the balls out of the way.
You sure do.
It's second because we all have 2 balls. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Boys.
Don't. Not at all. All right. Smashiest balls. Look, so because the games themselves will need further description of their ball-like features.
Uh-huh.
We're going to announce them one at a time here. Outer Wilds. What is the ball that is smashy within those wilds?
The balls in the Outer Wilds that are smashed are the planets because Chad refused to use the landing cam and smashed his ship into planets all the time.
Chad, why did you refuse to use the landing cam designed for landing?
I just didn't feel like it was necessary. When I could just smash I'm rehashing a bit of content. Most of my runs in Outer Wilds were on a single planet. Very rarely did I travel between them.
This is fair.
So I decided that my ship didn't matter.
Also fair. Also fair. It is just your safety orb. I don't even know if it's possible to hit the planet with enough force to kill you. I believe it is. I wonder how you learned that.
It's even easier when it is a comet.
Okay.
Yep.
And competing for this ball smashiness, we also have Life is Strange, which apparently I believe it was spelled with the E at the end, but like above.
I ran out of space.
There was a G and you added the E above.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's some kind of like umlaut situation where it changes the pronunciation.
Yeah, it changes the pronunciation to the Outer Wilds. This one's unanimous. Not really. So I chose Life is Strange because I am on a quest, a spiritual. I'm always searching for new and better ways to interpret the prompt "smashiest balls." We're going to get very abstract next year. I can almost guarantee it because I decided to go with Smashiest Balls, Life is Strange, True Colors for the festival that is had in the fourth chapter of Life is Strange, because it was a ball in as it was a party and people danced there, and it was an absolute smash because every single person in the whole town made an appearance.
It was a graveyard smash.
It was a graveyard smash.
Better hurry, it gets on in a flash.
I admit that is a very compelling argument and a creative use of the prompt. I will, however, point out that partially because you very obviously ran out of room on the small slip of paper that we're putting in these things, you did not write Life is Strange True Colors. You just wrote Life, ILSTRAN, and then a line with an E on top of it. So there's no denotation of colors, and I think if I was being a rule stickler here, I can argue that you did not nominate that game and that there was no smashed ball of any sort.
Well, no, because then if I did nominate Life is Strange 1, then there is the End of the World Party, which was also a smash ball.
Ooh, and
well, we didn't play it this year. So
Yeah, I would be disqualified for other reasons.
all you had to do right now is just lie and say that you replayed Life is Strange 1 on your own time in preparation.
And then it would be a real he said, she said, because Andy would deny it, and I would have to just argue against him.
That is correct, yeah. And since I am the judge in this court, I unilaterally deem to believe you and that you have played Life is Strange 1 again, because I wish for you to win. A controversial statement for a judge to make.
But you might argue.
Perhaps.
We're at your mercy.
But, you know, I always try and be bold. I try and be the Cheetos of judges in all things.
I do also want to shout out Andy's bravery for not mentioning that the planets are all orbs that are vaporized in a supernova.
I mean, I was going to get there. I was ready for more thoughts.
All right.
But
Vaporization is not smashing. There's probably
That's
a smashing.
True, that's true.
I'd need to know a lot more about supernovas because there's no stuff in space to spread concussive force out. It's just heat, right?
Right, yeah.
It's just a wave of heat, in which case no ball is smashed. The ball is merely cooked well beyond what is safe. The next category. Can't live without it.
No, we can't live without the next category. JJ, what is it?
Can't live without it.
So this category is a power-up in a game that when you think about playing the game without it, it seems like bad.
You seem
to
like you would fucking die.
Yeah.
Like you
good.
would feel
So
bad.
like the most significant power-up that like has the biggest impact on the game.
All right.
Like my example is like in a Metroidvania, you're like, when am I going to get that double jump?
I see. It seems Chad has nominated a short Hilsey.
I love this running gag.
I'm going to assume hike. Hike was the letter.
That's correct, yeah. No, hike is a word.
There is definitely
Short hills.
a larger space between the line that is like the left side of the K and the caret that is the right side of the K. There's a bigger space between those two K parts than between any other letter in the word hike.
I was writing this, like, in kind of an awkward position. That's my defense.
Why did you do that? Presumably you could write it anywhere, in any position you wanted.
You know, some people just do things the way they want to, all right?
All right, so your defense is, in my defense, I do what I want. Chad Rutherman, 2021.
Yeah, also save that quote. It's going on my gravestone.
Good, okay. So what is the power-up in a short hike that you cannot live without?
So I debated whether or not what I wanted to mean here was the silver feather or the gold feather. And I think the gold feather is the one that makes the most sense for most players. Though the silver feather is probably my actual true heartfelt answer. For people who have not played a short hike,
Don't give me that look. Don't you dare.
the gold feather allows you to flap your wings, which is, as you just described, like the Metroidvania double jump, something you absolutely cannot play the game without, and is in fact the first quest in the game is to get it. And that is sort of what pushed me toward the silver feather, because the game isn't really the game until you get the gold feather.
Okay.
But the silver feather makes you go higher and allows you to glide by going crazy fast.
That doesn't sound like hiking, though.
It sure doesn't.
There doesn't seem to be any hiking involved with any of these powers.
A short hike is, I think, the title of the game because the part of the game you spend hiking is just so short. You spend a lot of it flying and climbing, and the silver feather makes flying an absolute fucking joy. It's one of the most serene moments I think I had with movement in a video game this year, and I just adore it. I think it's great.
All right, I understand. I, too, aspire to the serenity of not having to hike in circumstances where I am told to hike. Andy, you went for the hook shot.
Yes, from Ocarina of Time. I wrote down my answer instead of the game on this slip on accident. But yeah, I went with the hook shot because to me, it is that like Metroidvania double jump equivalent. Like it's in like pretty much every Zelda game since it was introduced, since A Link to the Past. And it's that thing. I'm like, when am I going to get the hook shot? I hope it's not too many dungeons in this time. It's just such a cool power up. And lots of other games that like take inspiration from Zelda include a hookshot style item because it's just that satisfying to use, and it's really useful in puzzles, like being able to like zip across a gap.
Would you describe the feeling that you have when using the hook shot as some kind of like spiritually fulfilling serenity?
You know, I would.
Oh, okay. Good. Okay.
You know, zipping across like a gap where if you didn't have the hook shot, you would fall to your death is a pretty serene experience.
I'll also defend that to some extent. There's an enjoyment, there's an element of real fun to it.
You conquer that vertigo with the hook shot.
I don't want my use of a word to be the defining factor, I think is why I'm saying this.
Well, thankfully what you want doesn't matter, as only I am in control here. There's nothing that you can do about it now. The sword has been bequeathed. I know this one, I'm really having a hard time because we're really comparing something very basic that I know very well, that is definitely essential, to mysterious feathers that I know very little about and have nothing to do with hiking.
Is the silver feather the one you get like at the end for getting all the feathers?
It is very close to the end.
I see. I, in my eyes, would then dock that points because it's not something you get to make use of throughout the vast majority of the game.
An excellent argument.
There are two of them.
Oh, there's two of them.
One of them you can get, I think, after you get like 4-ish gold feathers.
Okay.
And it's like on an island that you
so
have to fly towards.
So it's also hidden though.
But when you replay the game, then you know where it is and you go get that shit. Well, I wouldn't remember where it is because it's been like 8 months since I played it, but I would look it up and then go get it in order to make the game more enjoyable.
Your
for me.
desperation is palpable with every passing syllable. Andy, you have received the point for this round. I desperately wish, by the way, I'd like to say for future NOCLIP Awards scenarios, I want there to be like a cork board or perhaps some kind of wooden object behind me so that I can just like go over his shoulder with the sword and just like carve your points as they go. And
well, we'll workshop that for next year.
Good. I'm glad to have given you more. The next category. Save the jumping for platformers. I'm assuming this is a category all about how you don't like jumping because it like takes too long or some shit.
It's a game that's not a platformer with jumping in it where we think it was implemented badly.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this category. Oh, this is close to my heart.
And he's going to be really mad at me
And
also.
all the spite within it. Your nominees. There's fucking jumping in Outlast.
Yeah.
That is alarming to me. And immediately from the word go makes me highly, I believe a lot in you.
Okay. Oh, you want me to give my thing?
I
now?
do.
Okay.
Speak.
Okay. So in Outlast, you have a jump. And I'm the kind of person that does like jumping in most games, even if it's bad. But when I was thinking about all of my choices, I picked Outlast because I compared it to another game we played this year, which was Resident Evil 7, which it's a similar style game, like first-person, haunted house style horror game. And it does not have a jump, and it doesn't feel like it's missing anything for it. No. I think Outlast, I like what they're going for, trying to do something different. It just doesn't really add anything. Like, there's a few parts where you have to, like, jump up on some boxes in an outdoor area, which is one of the worst parts of the game. Points for them for trying it, but I just don't think it really adds anything.
I can sympathize that. It seems like the thing about houses, haunted or otherwise, is that they're designed very specifically to never require jumping at any point. If I went to someone's house and was asked to jump ever to reach any location, that would be distressing to me. Chad, your nominee seems to be Xenoblade and then a like quickly drawn picture of a rapier at the end.
Well, yeah. It's because...
I confirm with Andy that it's definitely just a rapier. Or the last.
It does kind of look like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I have final say in what goes into the podcast. Yeah. So I chose Xenoblade, and it isn't because the mechanic of jumping itself is bad. The game has fucking huge maps that are enormous, and to do that as a flat plane would be a disservice to how good the game looks. So by adding a little bit of like wavery landscape and more precarious areas, it really livens up the game and I think necessitates jumping. What I want to call out here is that this is a game that, as we talked about, very much likes to focus on its characters. It makes friendship a mechanic of the game. And throughout the course of the game, your friends, your dearly beloved friends, will constantly hurl themselves off of cliffs, off giant planet-sized beings, to their inevitable death on the beach below, or into an unknown sea. And then they just pop back into existence right behind you. Okay. It is the silliest and most immersion-breaking thing I think I've ever seen in a video game. And they'll say voice lines while they do it. You'll be running around on top of the Mechanis, a giant, monstrous machine producing, sword-wielding Goliath. And then Ryan will be like, "Alley-oop!" and just fucking hop off of it to his death.
The voice lines are descriptive of the fact that they are jumping.
Yes.
Is there any voice lines that are commentary after they get back? Like, oh, that was satisfying.
They'll just pop right back in as if they didn't just do it.
Glad I got that out of my system.
Yeah. And I didn't detract from the game when we talked about it by mentioning this, but it is just something that sticks in my mind more than I ever thought that it would.
Yeah. That's fair. It seems traumatic for you. However, I would believe at this present moment that the fact that the game has imbued upon you this unforgettable experience as a result of jumping being in the game implies that the game was better for it and that it has enriched our lives, even if it enriched it in a way.
You opened your statement with a counter argument to yourself.
You did, yeah. You did a real bad job
I
there.
said that the jumping was necessary in the game.
Yeah, but like you hit on the thing I was gonna use as a counter argument, that it leads to like more interesting like world design.
But can we get another round in? Because I do want to counter his Outlast.
My hand is hovering over the garbage pile for garbage arguments with your submission here, but I will jiggle it enticingly as you say your final words.
I want to shout out that the best part of Outlast is is where you drop your camera and have to then go pick it up. The worst part of Outlast is that takes 18 seconds to do. But in order to set up that scenario at all, there is like a platforming section, and that forces you to drop the camera. So it in a similar way to Xenoblade is a necessity to create the good things in the game. And also, I couldn't put Outlast because I, on the podcast, said that I liked the jumping in Outlast because it is janky and goofy.
That is only like one and maybe a couple other instances where the jumping's used for something good. 99% of the time, it's bad.
Sure is.
Whereas it's the ability to jump in Xenoblade is adding more all of the time because you get the more interesting world.
I agree.
Well, it's unanimous then. I'm gonna throw that into the trash. Another point to the Andy Man.
To the Andy Man. I like it.
Yeah, you should just start going by that all
Yeah.
the time. Whenever I have to introduce you at parties, like I always do.
The Andy
The
Man.
Andy
Yeah,
Man.
You're really good. That's supposed to imply, by the way, in the fiction of the podcast, that I'm not just the judge here. I'm the judge everywhere
Of
I
all
go.
our lives.
Yeah, that's correct. The next category. The most interesting... Oh, excuse me. There's no "the" there. I got to correct that. It's just most interesting depiction of an afterlife, which is a very heady category in comparison to our others.
We just had a weird number of games this year that included it.
Well, all living beings definitely ponder their own death. So.
True dat.
Limbo.
Just make sure it's not unanimous, right?
No.
Good. So I picked Limbo, and probably would have been a better, more. It would have had more flow to it if I was the second one, but
Is that a criticism of me?
no. It's a criticism of random chance.
Okay.
Limbo, as pretty much everyone who pays attention to video games knows at this point, is a big metaphor. It is essentially a 4-hour puzzle platform game that is a depiction of this child's death. And it gives a lot of clues as to what happened, but it also leaves it ambiguous enough that there's a lot of sort of interpretation that has to be done on the part of the player in order to make the game say something that is specific to them. I think my favorite part about Limbo's depiction of the afterlife is because it is so non-specific. It is most closely to our human understanding of what lies beyond death, in that we don't really know.
Okay. So you think the most interesting depiction of an afterlife is the conscious choice to go through great effort to not depict an afterlife?
Well, it also has a big spider in it.
Okay, that's fair.
That played so well. It's like we wrote it as a joke, but we did not.
Grim Fandango.
Yeah, I picked Grim Fandango because the whole game is set in an afterlife, the 8th underworld, to be specific, from Mexican folklore. And I picked it because, one, it's got a lot of cool visuals and a lot of like creative like world design and everything, but like it creates such like an appealing environment that it's a part of the story that certain characters actually choose to stay here rather than moving to the 9th. and they choose to like, try and gain power in this afterlife. So I feel like there's a lot of cool like visual elements that make it seem like a place you'd actually want to visit.
Why would I want to visit the afterlife?
Well, I mean, you're gonna have to go there anyway. I'd rather be greeted with something cool than something depressing.
Aren't there like 7
big spider?
Yeah.
Are there like 7 other like pre-depressing afterlives?
I don't know, actually.
That sounds like there's a lot of mystery in this afterlife structure. I feel
Well,
like
that's
by afterlife
that's going to be
5,
true of any afterlife.
it would be kind of rough on me to be like, oh, I got to get through another life after this one, then 2 more.
I do have an argument against Chad's pick.
All right.
Limbo depicts limbo, which is a state between life and the afterlife, and not actually the afterlife.
Oh, this is the kind of pedantry that I just suck up like a sponge.
All
Chad,
right.
do you have counter pedantry?
Yeah, I just don't agree with that statement. I think life is pretty binary. Limbo, at least biblically, is a space between heaven and hell, not between life and death.
That's actually not true.
Oh. Limbo, at least biblically, in the way that I understand it, which is incomplete and not correct, is a space between heaven and hell and not between life and death.
Yeah, it's a place everyone goes when they die until the world ends, and you get to be accepted to heaven or hell.
I think
Alright.
definitionally, though, that is afterlife.
Yeah, are you alive
The
when you're in
afterlife
limbo?
is heaven, not limbo. Limbo is the state in between.
I think we might be. I think the issue may actually be with the word "the" here. In which case, if that is the definition, then the 8th afterlife or the 8th, what is it called?
Underworld.
The 8th underworld isn't the afterlife; it's the 9th, where they're trying to go on the train.
And it was a depiction of an afterlife was the category, not the afterlife.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
Assuming that we agree that limbo is afterlife, even if it's not the afterlife,
Right.
it would still qualify, even if it's not
All right.
the capital.
I'll accept this.
The capital A. Yeah. Am I to take that acceptance? No, let me try that. Let me try that one again.
I mean, I made a counter argument. I was going to let Chad make one.
Oh, you want me to counter argue against Grim Fandango?
Yeah.
Grim Fandango is dope. I love the afterlife in it. I have no counter argument. It's a tough choice. I think these are both great.
I actually agree wholeheartedly. However, do think, Chad, you need to stand up for yourself
Okay.
a lot more if you're going to have any chance to make up the deficit that you're currently building here.
In that case, the issue that I have with the 8th afterlife, or the 8th underworld,
There you go.
is that you describe it as a cool place, and I agree from the perspective of a game player. As a resident, it seems kind of ass. There's a lot of people. It is basically a mob town that is run by criminals in order to cheat people who get there out of their chance at moving on to a better afterlife.
It's better than a world that's trying to kill you at every turn.
Sure, but that's not why I like it.
True.
That is why you like this one.
And I also think it's pretty boring to pick our most interesting depiction of an afterlife as something relatively in line with life presently, which, as far as we understand, outside of the aesthetics of life that Grim Fandango changes rapidly, you are still just kind of dealing with all those gangsters and all those corrupt politicians. Am I right?
You're
Boys
so
and
right.
girls.
You
Jay,
get to,
don't
like-
say that around my pet giant spider.
That's fair. So
But you get to smoke and drink as a skeleton. That's pretty cool.
I'm very glad that I coaxed this bold stance out of you, Chad, as you've earned this point. Grim Fandango is going to go into the trash pile, also known as the past, where it belongs. You done sucking up your nutrients?
Yeah, no, that's good.
Thank you.
It was just it felt like an abrupt shift to me. I don't know.
That's understandable. The next category, a warm blanket across my shoulders, a shawl that I know well, least likely to be compared to Dark Souls. I have to say, every day that I have spent away from this podcast is one less Dark Souls comparison in my life.
Yeah. I mean, yes, that is true. However, I do want to argue that we could have potentially done a category called most likely to be compared to Dark Souls this year, because there was a wealth of choices.
Okay. Well, of those choices that are the opposite of the choices you just described, what was submitted was Telling Lies, which I'm hoping is the name of a game and not a description of the activity. Is that correct, Andy?
Yes.
Telling Lies literally is a lot like Dark Souls. But the game, not so much.
Yeah. So I picked Telling Lies because it's an FMV game, very unlike Dark Souls. You're watching video clips to try to piece together a story. So it's human drama, like a day-to-day, like very like kind of normal thing going on. It not fantasy, I guess is what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way. And yeah, it's like a desktop simulator. So I feel like the act of like sitting at a desktop watching video clips of FMV people and piecing together a story is pretty far away from hitting skeletons with a sword.
And our other contender, and this time I'm going to go with, before going through full arguments, there's always two discrete steps in the least likely to be compared to Dark Souls category. An argument pro it being unlike Dark Souls, and the counter argument that each of you will provide that is an attempted comparison to Dark Souls. So start your thoughts now. But the second presented candidate is Donut Country, which really makes me think that these aren't games, and the further we get into the actual show, we're just going to start writing just more like nouns and verbs and shit on these, and because that I don't listen to any podcasts ever, and there's no way for me to tell.
That's true. I could have this would have been the most elaborate prank ever. JJ, could you please drive multiple hours so that we can just sit here and make you say fake words?
I don't put it past you. So tell me what the lie that is Donut Country is, Chad.
Well, the first lie is that it's called Donut County. I may have written country. I'm not even going to say that I didn't.
I think it really hinges on whether or not this is a U or an N, and I will leave that to the philosophers.
There's no way to know.
Yeah.
So Donut County was my choice because actually similarly to Telling Lies as being a desktop simulator, it is also a game where you do not control a character directly. It is also a bright game with a lot of colors, and the story is mostly about making friends, which are all, I would argue, pretty dissimilar to Dark Souls. On top of that, I would also like to say that there is no mystery to the level design. You get put out and everything is like a panorama where you just can see all the stuff, and your goal is just put it all in a hole, baby. You move a hole around and drop stuff into it, and like maybe there will be something under a thing that you didn't see, but very quickly that thing goes right down the hole too, and it does not make a big impact one way or the other.
Man, there's a metaphor behind that whole last sentence that I'm worried about really addressing. Andy, why is this hole-filling game like Dark Souls?
It has a boss fight in it. When the characters go down into the hole, they're in like an underground space that could be similar to like catacombs, and they sit around a bonfire.
Ooh, that last one's pretty rough.
There is when they sit around, it is a garbage fire in a trash can.
Sure, they call them bonfires in Dark Souls, but they're really just campfires.
Are you implying that the bonfires in Dark Souls are composed of trash?
No, but
I mean,
I was just trying to cut off another argument that it's not actually a bonfire.
I do believe you can canonically just throw any shit into the bonfire in some Dark Souls games to turn them into souls.
Yeah, dung pies.
Am I making that up?
I don't think you can burn items for souls in any Dark Souls game.
No, I don't think you can either, but that's a cool idea.
Oh, thank you.
The real winner here is JJ for his new job at From Software.
Yeah, my victory was never in dispute, though. Chad, why is Telling Lies like Dark Souls?
Mine's going to be a little abstract. I think that Telling Lies is a game that is, at its core, about exploration. It is not of an area, but it is exploration of a vast amount of video footage. A complaint that we had about Telling Lies was that the when you searched for something, rather than like its predecessor, it's being broken up into 30-second clips or less that you watch the entirety of. You actually will start at the point in the video where the word you're looking for is said, and so you have to scrub back and forth through the video to find the meaning within it. And I think more than anything that constitutes an exploration in the way that searching an area in Dark Souls does.
I see. I ruminate on this for a time, and I believe I have come to my decision.
Thank God. We just for the listeners' benefit, we cut out one eon of rest and deliberation.
Oh, you guys are so accommodating of me to have sat upon these microphones for eons, deliberating about what is and is not.
Yeah, this is now the most interesting Afterlife.
This is the greatest metaphor for a video game podcast ever told. Chad wins. It's Donut Country. How dare you suggest that the bonfires in Dark Souls are similar to trash? They are not. Dark Souls is the best video game, obviously.
I didn't make that comparison. I just said the characters sit around a fire.
So now you're a liar, too, on top of everything else. Excellent.
You can check the evidence. I never said that Dark Souls fires were trash.
We lost that evidence eons ago.
Okay, that's true. It is 1 eon ago that I said that.
Thank God now we record digitally instead of onto magnetic tape like we did before the great rest.
The next category. Best soundtrack. Why did I say that?
I thought maybe we had written it on the envelope as soundtrack.
No, out of all the times, you did put like a little bend in there as if there was a space.
I did leave a little space, yeah.
But I think that one was on me. I will never let either of you say that I have no humility within my soul. I'm so sorry.
I'm pretty sure that this is all a ruse. And he's trying to show weakness so that we'll try something, and then he will fucking eviscerate us.
This was the plan that I made through the last eon, where I tricked you into giving me all the time that I needed to determine how to amass power best. We have just the word Zelda written down?
Yep.
Just A's. Which one?
It's Ocarina of Time. It's the one we did this year.
Okay, all right.
We're getting near the end of the categories where I stopped writing whole game titles. You could debate I never started.
Fair. Why? I did not know you liked Ocarina of Time soundtrack.
I said on the podcast, the line, also we should mention that Ocarina of Time invented good music in video games, which was a bold statement at the time.
Very.
But when I reflect on it, it really is like the granddaddy of how we sort of... I mean, you could argue that earlier Zelda games featuring similar soundtracks are the actual granddaddies. Mm-hmm. But when somebody thinks about classic video game music, once they're past chiptune, the very next thing they're going to think about is Ocarina of Time. And I think that it being sort of like not a pallbearer, that's for dead things, a flag bearer for like this era of music, it kind of deserves the nod.
I see. You really made up from a stumbled start there after just writing the word Zelda.
I'm just writing Zelda, yeah.
I'm pretty tempted by your honeyed words. What about Xenoblade Chronicles, though?
I picked Xenoblade Chronicles because I feel like a lot of music nowadays in video games tries to emulate like film scores and to try to be a background element. And I feel like Xenoblade is a game that came out in like the PS3 360 era when that was becoming a trend and just flew right in the face of it. Like it feels like it has that kind of classic like Square Enix style like RPG soundtrack where it's like all the themes are super memorable and feel like they're a big part of the game. It's one of those soundtracks like you'll play the game, you'll remember all the songs, you'll want to buy the soundtrack and listen to it. It's in my opinion, like, post like 2010, it's like top 3 best video game soundtracks, maybe. It's just that great.
Honeyed words,
I think,
all the more.
Ocarina of Time's soundtrack walked so that Xenoblade could run.
That's an excellent soundbite for the papers that I will be writing to let the world know the result.
Newspapers or academic papers?
Both. I mean, you've got to talk to the people both high and low.
True.
I'll dumb it down, of course, for the newspapers. You can't really engage with them on the full Xenoblade Chronicles level. They probably don't have to find a substitute word for Chronicles.
God, the Xenoblade Chronicles is like the name of a newspaper.
It absolutely is. Chad, how did you feel about the Xenoblade Chronicles soundtrack?
It fucking slaps. It slaps so hard.
Like an ass.
It slaps like a big fat ass.
Good.
It's a game that I compared the music in it to feeling more natural to have a wailing guitar solo than a guy in leather pants. So I can't say shit about Xenoblade as a choice. It's a good one, and the music's real good. It is subjective.
I see.
But that's my one argument. Maybe you don't like it.
If you were in the outside world, this would be a question of subjectivity. But again, here I am the judge, and thus there is only one set of norms that you should be appealing to, and it is mine, and you would do well to remember that in the future. Andy, how do you feel about the Ocarina of Time soundtrack?
The Ocarina of Time soundtrack is great. I do love Koji Kondo a lot. But to make an argument against it is that the original soundtrack for Ocarina of Time is MIDI, and that's not to everybody's tastes.
In contrast to Xenoblade Chronicles, which you would recommend to everybody?
Yeah.
Literally everybody?
Yeah.
How your mom would feel
Could
about
you?
I would actually put on the Xenoblade Chronicles soundtrack to see what my mom thought of it.
And that is all that I needed to hear. The winner, Andy Kennick.
I think I actually have.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, his mom also likes Kansas, and I feel like if you like a good chunky guitar riff, then the Xenoblade soundtrack would appeal to you.
Oh, there's a band called Kansas.
Oh yeah, no, not like
Yeah, I thought
the
it's
state.
like you were implying that if you can love Kansas, you can love anything.
We're not in
Editor's
Kansas anymore.
editor's note: I am implying that.
Good. The next category, most hipster indie game, which is a very judgmental category. Befitting my taste.
I picked what is debatably one of my favorite games that we played this year. So if it's judgmental of people like me.
How many years do you guys think it's been since people stopped saying the word hipster on a usual basis? 5?
Somewhere in that vicinity, probably.
Okay.
I was gonna say 3.
All right. Either way, it's an acceptable range. I won't make you hash out this of all disagreements. You got to save that argumentative energy for the trials to come. One of which is, of course, right now, in the form of Oxenfree.
Okay, yeah, I picked Oxenfree. I was looking through the list, and I feel like there were a lot that maybe had a hipstery aesthetic. But I felt like Oxenfree, well, it kind of also does, but I feel like it's a game about hipsters. I think all the characters would qualify, and that pushed it over the edge for me. They can't just hang out and drink beer. They have to go to a cool remote island to do it. And
not an untobogganed head amongst them.
Yeah, toboggans, flannels, 80s vests.
One of them's an alligator, I think. Was that a different game?
That's a different game
about hipsters drinking beer alone. They all bleed together, just the whole time. It's your guys' job to make sure you can separate them out in my mind. Much like you're going to have to define for me Hypno Space Outlaw, another game that definitely sounds fake. And a game they would be playing in the background
He's onto us.
Of Cowboy Bebop, 100%. Ed would be all over this shit. What is this game?
Hypnospace Outlaw, for your benefit, what you do in Hypnospace Outlaw is not really the source of how hipster it is. Hypnospace Outlaw is a game that takes place in a fictional 2002 or something.
Awesome.
Oh, it's in the 90s.
I think it's early. It might be
It's
90s.
not, and then there's a time jump.
Yeah.
Is it postulating that if 9/11 never happened, then we would like already be in space.
I think it's more like Y2K.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
And it is in a world where everyone has virtual reality internet access.
Awesome.
Through a weird, and basically everything is a weird fucking mashup between GeoCities and MySpace.
Oh, fucking dope.
Yeah,
God.
this game is dope as hell. But there's a core to hipsterism, in addition to the like, having like a particular set of tastes. And it is irony. Irony is a big part of hipster, and this bleeds fucking irony. Every single joke is ironic. Every song, of which there were dozens written for this game specifically. The concept of chill wave is the hipsteriest thing I've ever heard. And I adored this game because I am a fucking bad hipster.
Well, from the sound of it, I think I adore it too. And I, unlike you two, have shame and will not allow anything that I love to be called a hipster interest. So for that reason alone, I think I'm going to select Oxenfree just immediately, just as the victor, so that I can feel good about playing Hypnospace Outlaw on my own time. So I thank you for enriching my life, Chad.
Yeah, you would definitely like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you continue to find ways to lose that also benefit me, I might pay you back for it at a later date. I'm not above fixing my judgments. All right. The next category. Most improved. I did that one as a sound bite so that if any of you wanted to like cut that out and use it in a video game, you could do that. Yeah.
Just bit crunch it.
Mm-hmm.
What's bit crunching?
Like you take the audio and you have to like reduce the quality to make the file size smaller, and it sounds like digital.
Oh,
It's like what happens if you download and re-upload a YouTube video a bunch of times.
gross.
Yeah, so any like voice clips in like older video games usually have that quality to them.
Oh, yeah, I get that PS1
Yeah.
good naughtiness.
Or it feels like a little fuzzy.
Yeah, it's like the
Yeah.
granola of sounds. It's good.
It is
Granola
kind of like
sound.
that. Yeah.
This podcast sponsor. Granola,
Granola sound.
Yeah.
Don't fucking question it.
All right, so I'm assuming what we're measuring improvement relative to is prior iterations of the game. Is that fair?
That's kind of how I took it.
Yeah.
All right, good. Then in that case, our first sequel to be judged upon its improvement, Psychonauts 2.
Alright, I picked Psychonauts 2 because I feel like while I liked the game a lot, I feel like the improvements that the sequel made are like exactly the things that were like the shortcomings of the first one. Like I feel like it had this like hub world that it kind of like dropped as the game went on and became a lot more linear. Like the second one has like a really cool hub world that spans like multiple like different areas. And I feel like it felt like the story kind of fizzled out. It had like too many villains, and like some of them didn't get like the time of day, and just made the plot more confusing, and felt like there was cut content. And like Psychonauts 2 just really delivers and feels like a full realized version of what the first one was going for.
I see. Very stewy. And Life is Strange, I assume True Colors?
Yeah, that'd be accurate.
I would congratulate you. Almost did the last two letters of Strange right. If you just had that curve to that G, instead of making it a wrong Q, you could have really gotten there. So what did True Colors do that was so much better than our cherished game of Life is Strange?
Well, it did it better than Life is Strange 2. And I think this is really the censure, is that Life is Strange 2 is a garbage fire. Life is Strange 2 is a game that took its predecessor and identified correctly everything it did that made it good and did the opposite of it. You don't spend any time with the characters. The story is much less relatable as a human being. Things are way out of line as far as like what you expect from reality, which was sort of the charm of the first game. And the third game fixes most of that. The third game is like, I mean, I can speak for my own experience. replace what I'm about to say with a gooder movie, if you disagree with me. But Life is Strange 3 is like The Force Awakens if you watched all of the original trilogy and then you watch the prequel trilogy and were like, oof, I don't know if I want to continue with this Star Wars thing. And then The Force Awakens made you go, I think they might understand why this was good.
Okay. All right. I can see that understanding of the world, but I admit I'm hard pressed to agree, because when I think about someone who is most improved, I want to judge that person holistically. You know, if I looked at some like old guy in their 50s who's like swimming down at the swimming hole, and like they're like, your time is really up this year compared to last year, but like when they were 20, you know, their time was like way better than anything they can ever do because they're old and like gonna like die like sooner than before. I would
at least 60 years.
I would still say that like overall their trajectory has been down. I would never call an old guy who gets better at swimming than he was last year like oh, you're so improved. That seems almost like an insult to that guy. In fact, I think he would be mad to hear you say that.
But if you were a great swimmer,
yeah,
and then this is bad. Actually, you're a swimmer at the Olympics.
Yeah.
And in 1 year you swim at the Olympics and you get from the judges equal scores.
The swim judges, yeah.
The swim judges. Do they do the thing where they hold up signs at the Olympics?
That's diving.
That is
diving.
Yeah, it's not actually swimming. It's like swimming through the air is diving.
I tried to match your metaphor, but I guess I'm going to have to change it a bit. You're a diver, and the first year you go, and the second year you go, and you get the same score both times.
Yeah.
But one of them thinks that you did a much better job with this form, and another one thinks that you did better because the splash wasn't as big when you landed. But overall, the average for both was about the same. That's more insulting, because Psychonauts 1 is a perfectly good game that doesn't feel like an unfinished pile of garbage.
I don't know. I played that game, notable hater of platformers, and I hated it. So.
Oh, it was pandering. Why didn't I think of this?
Indeed. Once again, you have recognized the secret pandering to the NOCLIP Awards. But you are going to need to convince me, Andy, that I, hater of platformers, would think Psychonauts 2 was better.
I think you probably would, because I think similarly to something like Mario Odyssey, it's like a lot more streamlined and like more modern. Like anything that you probably found like tedious about the original has been smoothed out. Like you don't have to like use the bacon to like extract, and like the smelling salts and like the traveling around, and everything is a lot more like smooth, and it controls a little bit better, and it's just more modern and plays better, and I do think you would enjoy it a lot more.
Excellent pandering. I love smoothness. Point to you, Andy.
I thought this was going to be unanimous.
Oh, yeah.
I was like...
I agreed with what
we
JJ...
hate Life is Strange 2 so much that it is unbelievable to even consider another option.
I agreed with what JJ was saying. Like, I thought about it, and I was like, I think Life is Strange 1 is better, and then just stopped thinking about it.
God.
Even if it wasn't, the fact that you even had to consider it implies that the gap between where it started and where it is not that big.
Oh, no, Life is Strange 2 is terrible.
Yeah, if the category was best recovery, shoe in, 100%.
This is such a... That could be the name of this category, and it would literally be no different, except we would have to require it to be games that are 3 in the series.
Agreed. I agreed. And sometimes these things are important. The next category, non-philosophical content for gamers. Another beloved category.
So this one is basically the opposite of the Bending Over BAFTA award that we had a few years ago, where it's like a game that's just all about its mechanics and does not care about appealing to like your
emotions.
Yeah, like
I don't know.
It doesn't want to seem like high-minded or heady or like art.
All right.
It just wants to be like pure gameplay.
And it is a callback to something that you said on the very first NOCLIP Awards.
Good. Speaking of things that you said, Chad, you said Puzzle League, which I assume is puzzle.
It's
and
pizza, actually.
And I assume is Pokemon Puzzle League, because I guess I actually don't. Are there other Puzzle League games? Is that like a series that Pokemon was branded after?
I think it's the name of the series is like Paddle Depon or something like that in
what
Japan.
What a stupid fucking name.
Don't make fun of the Japanese culture. No, but it's Tetris Attack was what it was called on the Super Nintendo. It's like it is a series, but that's been called like 10,000 different things. Like every time they release a new iteration, it's got a different name. And one of those iterations was Pokemon Puzzle League.
Yes.
Well, I will admit, when I think non-falafel
when I am
content
not,
for eating.
and this is rare, not thinking about falafels.
I definitely think about Pokemon Puzzle League. So this seems like a good fit. I feel like if there was few things in my life that would be as bereft of conscious thought as playing Pokemon Puzzle League. But I would love to hear you really hammer that point home.
I thought that was a lead into it being somehow a unanimous vote, which would be wild to me.
No.
I could not tell you beyond just guessing based on prior experience with the series what happens in Pokemon Puzzle League. Pokemon Puzzle League to me is a game where the only similarity that it has to a narrative experience is that you have to press a button to begin it. Every other thing is just playing Pokemon Puzzle League.
Could you hypothetically port Pokemon Puzzle League to a physical cabinet composed of objects?
I don't see why not.
Good job. Andy, what is Ollie Ollie, and why is it for stupid people?
Ollie Ollie is an indie game that's about skateboarding. It's a mechanical, like, almost kind of like an endless runner. Like, you're just moving constant. No, you make yourself move. So never mind.
Are you ollieing? Is that...
You do have to
ollie.
do tricks,
Okay.
but like it is probably one of the most mechanically demanding, if not the most, of all the games we played this past year. It's really hard. It also has no pretense of a story. You just go to different locations and you do the skateboard courses. And it has like leaderboards, so you know it's pandering to those people who want to just be real good at it and show everybody. It's for pro elite gamers. So yeah, no story, super hard and mechanically like demanding.
I see. Unfortunately,
no philosophy here, dear readers.
The t-shirt your skateboarder wears says no philosophy here.
Yeah.
which itself would be a very complex philosophical statement.
That's
Yeah.
That our original version of this, just as a sidebar, the original version of this category was, is there a game that rejects philosophy? Because the idea was we just wanted this title. We liked the title, thought it was funny. And we were like, that is kind of a philosophy though. And so we created a paradox, or potentially a tautology, and then just gave up. And we said, what if we did the game, the skateboard game?
Much like philosophy itself, it sounds. So you've really followed the track back to its beginning. I'm afraid, Andy, that when I think of endless runners,
It's not actually an endless runner.
Okay, then what is it?
It's you actually make yourself move. I was just mistaken in thinking that you just moved automatically. But you do have to push with your foot and make it. So it's kind of like you could think of
it's
it
like a downhill jam.
Do
you know a downhill jam?
I know of downhill jams.
You can think
yes.
of it a little bit like a platformer, but you're moving downhill and you have to jump over gaps and things.
Okay.
Like you complete a level, like a skateboarding level.
Mm-hmm.
Is it purely a series of tests that you must ollie past, or is there, like many skateboarding games before it, a level of like self-expression involved?
There is. You do have different tricks that you can perform.
And thus your fate is sealed. Pokemon Puzzle League for Chad, the victor.
I will say, as my after-the-fact counter-argument, that I don't usually engage with games with that kind of gameplay. And for me, the appeal of it was the Pokemon licensing, and not the actual gameplay itself as much.
That's fair.
That would have been my counter-argument. Not a super strong one.
Yeah, I wouldn't have come up with the self-expression counter argument if I was given the opportunity.
Yeah.
I think they were both pretty good options, I gotta say.
Yeah. It's well fought.
Good job.
Yep. A friendly sportsman-like handshake.
Let's see how long this lasts.
All right.
Your next category,
I've been looking forward to this one.
Oh,
the Newlywed Game.
So this one is we both tried to guess the other's least favorite game we played this year.
Oh god! And here I thought it was going to be a category either where both of you just said "It Takes Two" or talked about fucking. So I'm glad this attempted guess instead.
We're going to assess the current state of our marriage.
yes. Are we aware? I'm going to pull up mine to make sure I'm not cheating.
Oh, so you guys both have this written down in advance?
I didn't.
I have.
I'm not
my
gonna
pick.
lie, hand to God. I'm not gonna change my answer. Oh wait, no, I didn't write it.
We should probably just have this one not really play into the point system if we either both get it I guess or both miss it, because we would have to. It makes no difference either way.
Oh no! The points don't have to be exclusive by category. If you both get it right, I'll put this slip of paper in both of your paper piles.
You're so kind.
I am. Thank you.
He's a benevolent lord.
All right. So Andy's guess for Chad's least favorite game of the year is Pokemon Puzzle League.
Okay. Do you want to explain?
Yeah, so I had it narrowed down to like 4 things, and then I re-listened to the episode, and you like specific quotes from you are like, I don't like match 3 games. Like you specifically call out the fact that you don't like it. It's so much so that we spend like 15 minutes. That's a huge exaggeration.
The episode's only like 30 minutes long.
5 minutes just talking about the To Be a Master soundtrack instead of the game. And it seems like any thing that you actually liked about it is that there's Pokemon in it.
Those are good assumptions to make because that's the one I chose.
Ooh, all right. Then 1 bonus point.
I got the documentation right here. It's in parentheses.
I have confirmed. Excellent work. Excellent work. And now, Chad's guess for Andy's least favorite game of the year.
This was harder for me than I think it would have been for you.
It was. This one was hard.
Okay.
I did labor over like the last 4 choices for a while.
All right. All right. Nanotale.
Oh wow. Okay.
I picked Nanotale because we both had a lot of like not complaints necessarily, but like things that drag it back from being like because we played Epistore and we were like, this is really unique and interesting. For your benefit, Nanotale is a sequel to well, not a sequel, but like the spiritual successor to Epistore, the typing game where you ride the fox. A lot of issues with the way that the game played. It had like kind of a messy mechanical front to it, and also just didn't seem to do much for you, on top of the fact that the story wasn't extremely good, and also you don't engage with typing games on the level that I think I do, which is why it got brought up in the first place. That was my reasoning.
It's actually wrong.
I figured it was when you said, "Oh, really?"
Yeah, I actually said on the episode I like it more than Epistore.
I didn't re-listen to shit. So
Yeah, my least favorite game was Downwell.
oh, that
You
does
didn't
track.
like Downwell?
No, I don't care for it.
Oh, is it because of all the falling?
I am afraid of heights, but no, that's not why.
Oh. Well, I'm no longer interested
yeah.
in exploring why you dislike Downwell.
I found it off-puttingly hard and not like fun or interesting, for me.
Yeah.
Your next category, perfect for the Switch, which is in here.
Surprise! You thought we weren't gonna do it.
We got you.
You did get me. Thank you. I'm glad it wasn't replaced, because after the Steam Deck comes and goes, after its inevitable Valve hardware failure, like all of the others that they have always done, this will, I think, live longer in the minds of our children.
Everyone will remember Perfect for the Switch because every YouTube video for like a whole year only said those words.
Yep, including ours.
Yes.
It's very hypnotizing. Actually, I don't know if these are the same because of the typing. We could have a duplicate. We could have our first unanimous, which I will also award just a shower of bonus points for. It would be great. But Andy, you said Metal Gear Solid 2, it
Yes.
seems.
You want me to explain it?
No, because I want to confirm whether or not they're the same. Chad, you wrote MGSL.
So I picked Mega Gun Slug Level.
Sons of Liberty. I'm sorry. I really need to save my gamer card. It was like slipping out of my knuckles.
That L is supposed to be a 2. It is just I just wrote MGS2.
Oh my god.
Yep.
There's really nothing there.
Hold your gamer card. You've earned it.
Thank you. There's no top. That's an L.
Yeah, that sure does look a lot like an L.
If archaeologists would have found this before I got to you to clarify these things,
It's like you have the exact point of curve on that line. Like you stopped right before. If you had the tiniest little stroke more, I could tell that was a 2.
but no.
But anyway,
almost a 2. That's the.
So, why do both of you believe that Metal Gear Solid 2 would be perfect for the Switch?
I picked it because obviously it's not on the Switch, but it's a classic series, and Snake is in Smash Brothers now, and I feel like for one reason or another, it might just be my bias is showing. Like a Nintendo platform just seems like home for classic video games to me. Like it just feels like it would just feel good to have those games on the Switch.
I love feeling good while holding my Switch.
Yeah.
I also really didn't pick it for portability reasons. Obviously, if I did, I would have chosen Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops. But
gross.
It is gross, isn't it? This game is shockingly hard to play. If you want to play Metal Gear Solid 2, you have to own a console that is at least 2 generations old. And that is a crime. Konami should be arrested by the United States government
for
and
a myriad of other reasons too.
Well, yeah, but mostly because they make it difficult to play Metal Gear Solid.
Can you arrest a company?
We'll fucking try.
God damn it.
We, the U.S. government? President Chad?
No, just America.
I'm sensing a conspiracy of sorts. The Chad is at the end of. Regardless, this is all superfluous and useless. You both selected the same game. So I'm going to reward 13 bonus points to the both of you.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah.
God, it is a capital L I've written on that.
Yeah, it absolutely is, yeah. And now, the finale. The creme de la creme. Game of the year. Please silence for the ripping of the Game of the Year envelope.
That actually sounded pretty good.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
And he gets to go first, by the way.
I had a lot of practice for this. With all the other fucking envelopes.
You're well practiced.
This is why they make different people open different envelopes at other award shows.
That's true.
So there's not one guy who's just
getting really good at it.
Since this isn't one that you're going to be moderating, you should just figure out whose is whose and hand it to us, and we'll just say it ourselves.
As you wish.
All right. My game of the year this year is Outer Wilds. It's just that game that we did this year that's feels like it's what I like about doing this podcast. It just came out of nowhere. I heard a couple of YouTube channels spotlight it, and I was like, that sounds interesting. Went in with no expectations and really found something that was really unique and different, and really captivated me and sucked me in. And I was just when I was playing it, I was just thinking about when I was at work, I was just thinking about getting on and playing more Outer Wilds when I was done with work. It was just one of those games for me, and kind of similarly to something like Obra Dinn, unraveling a mystery, just being plopped into a world and having to figure out what happened there is really appealing. So yeah, exploration's one of my favorite things in games, and it really delivered a special experience.
Yeah. This was a hard year because I think we talked about a lot of games that were definitely on that list of things I had to dig through to figure out. Outer Wilds is a fucking amazing game. It was a totally new experience for me and one that I considered here. Metal Gear Solid 2, historically, one of my favorite games, maybe my favorite game ever made. Depending on when you ask me, was a game that we played this year, and I thought it did hold up. Like, I don't feel worse about it. But ultimately, I have to give it to Hades. And the primary reason for me giving it to Hades here, I did love the game. That is not in question.
Nope.
Similarly to your take on the Outer Wilds, I was thinking about Hades all the time, but it was that fucking scene of the woman looking around and numbers are flying all over the place. That was me with Hades. The thing that Hades really did for me was it opened a whole genre to my understanding in a way that had never been done before. I've basically never really played roguelikes. I had played about 3. I liked half of one of those. And since I've played Hades, I've gone back and played older roguelikes, and I've been playing newer roguelikes as they've been coming out. And am actually enjoying myself for the first time, maybe, with the genre, now that I have an understanding. So for that actual change in my taste, I have to hand it to Hades.
I thought you might go with Xenoblade.
Xenoblade...
I kind of forgot about Hades for some reason. And I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely the right answer for Chad.
I believe this year, even me at the periphery edge of video games where I belong, has been able to sense that this has been truly a great year for games, and therefore a great year for us as well. Are you laughing, Chad, at at the love that I am professing to the medium of games in this moment?
It just caused him such joy.
It did.
That is fair.
Also, I was thinking of that time that I said Ocarina of Wines.
It's a good memory. A good year.
Good year for games.
Good year for games.
But yeah, and I look forward to many more joyous gaming years when I get to come here and judge all of the decisions that you make. And as is traditional, knight the host of the year on the basis of the results of the Game of the Year episode, which by 3 points, our victor is Andy Kennick, Knight of NoClip. I touched his shoulders there with the sword. I wanted to clarify that.
I'm very humbled and honored.
For the audience.
I'll edit in the sound of a knighting happening there.
That makes sound being
Yeah,
knighted?
you get the little tap noise. Maybe like if you were a knight in armor, it would be louder, probably.
Can you just put my voice through a filter that makes me sound more like Queen-like?
Oh,
More
I
like the
could
Queen
probably
of
do
England?
that, yeah.
That'd be great. That'd
All
be cool. Just
For
to
the
give
whole
it-
podcast?
Yeah.
All right, good.
Andy, your peerage is in the mail. It's just because I already knew you were going to win, because I decided who would win in advance, as I do every year.
If you look back, we didn't keep score ever, but I'm pretty sure that Andy has never lost.
Yep, Andy,
I am undefeated.
You're really racking up the peerages at this point.
I think I'm just the only one that actually takes it seriously.
It's on his fucking... He has to get a new driver's license every year to tack another sir onto the beginning of his name.
Not well known, because there are so few who manage to reach that echelon of knighthood. But the more knightings you receive, you just get extra sirs.
I'm withholding my title from the 100th episode of being the only one of us who actually likes playing video games.
Understandable.
The night of the square table that we sit at.
Thank you for listening to NoClip this week.
What are we talking about next time?
Next time, we're going to be talking about Metroid Dread. Was that spooky enough?
Yeah.
It was very dreadful.
Which you fucking know about it.
Uh-huh.
And this has already gone on too long. Until that time, you can get a hold of us. All of our contact information is on our website at noclippodcast.com or on splattershot.pro. Yes, I am still paying for that domain.
Excellent choice.
There you can find our email address, the Twitter, a link to our Discord where you can talk about the games, such as the NoClip Awards 2020. That's not a game, but it is an episode you could listen to. You could listen to any of the category winners, especially...
Why are you slowing down with every word?
Because I'm trying to process what other things to recommend based on this.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad sign when you're like, what can I do that I can recommend to other people? And you're like, oh crap, it's nothing? That's not good.
That's not great.
Did you need to recommend anything more than just the previous years?
Well, not by numbers, but we normally say 2 or 3 things.
Do you guys
Sure.
have any like Digimon content? Because I've noticed those people are pretty voracious about the stuff that they do.
That is true. Next time, instead of Metroid Dread, we're going to be talking about Digimon, the card game. Welcome to the NOCLIP Awards. I'm Chad Ruthermond.
I'm Andy Kinnick. You fall right back into the old habits. I was waiting for JJ to go second.
I knew you were going to do that. We definitely doubled. Yeah. Do it again, Chad. More music.
All right. Hey,